Woodcraft, helping you make woodwork.
Scott, sure.
So, like, I guess my add to the bushing part is it's like you can make it a lot bigger. You don't have to go to the bushing, but just don't make it smaller than your bushing, because then your bottle stopper will be sticking out on each side.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to do a big base or something, you can.
Oh, sure.
Like that.
Sure. Sure.
It looks really nice.
And to kind of go along with that, one thing that you'll want to be careful of is, like on this one here, there was some writing on the end of the blank to identify what it was, what kind of wood it was, and so forth. Okay, you want to be sure that if you're doing like you're talking about, leaving it bigger than the bottom of the stopper is, you want to make sure that you don't have that, because that would be the worst thing that could happen. Would be to have a lot of a lot of writing and that kind of thing exposed on the end of your stopper blank there.
Yes.
But yes, you can make it larger. Yeah, sure.
Crisscross to find my center to drill my hole, and then you learn real quick, don't use pin, because you're in a big base and you have these black marks on the bottom, and you're, oh man, God.
Yeah. So there are some things that you have to watch out for when you do that. But can you leave it bigger than the yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Is that just screwed onto that collet nowadays?
This, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just screwed right onto the mandrel.
Oh, to the mandrel. Yeah.
Yeah. The collet chuck itself is screwed onto the spindle, just like so. Then the mandrel is in the collet.
So do you have those collets?
I was hoping nobody would ask me that.
Yeah, I figured I would.
I without mine, though, I use it so much.
Did he say no? It's PSI collet.
What's that?
Isn't it PSI collet? My thoughts too.
I can't hear you here.
PSI collet.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Just out.
Pardon?
You don't carry them at all, or you're just out?
Don't carry them at all. No.
Or the really good one. I can't think of their name right now. My brain went dead. You did have some for a while, I know that, but that's been a couple of years ago, I remember.
You know, I don't recall if we ever brought any of these in or not. It's possible.
Yeah, you had the Woodcraft brand.
Mm-hmm.
But that didn't do you a lot of good because it didn't have the 3/4 inch collet in it. You
Right.
get it.
Right.
But you also had the other one. I can't think of what it's called right now, but it's real high-end type stuff. You're polishing.
Oh, the Beal.
Beal, thank you. Yeah, you had the Beal collets.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But they're worth their weight in gold.
They are.
Yep.
Yeah, they are. You can get collets for these in lots of different sizes. That's the collet itself. This is what's known as an ER32 collet. It's actually a machinist's tool.
What size collet is that?
1/2 inch. And threaded at 1 inch by 8. So most of our mini lathes, it's just going to screw right onto the spindle.
That's what I like about it, the fact that it does screw onto the spindle rather than the Morse tape.
Yeah, it's generally speaking, it's going to be more secure on your spindle, as well as, in my opinion, accessories that screw onto your spindle are going to be a little bit more accurate than those that are on a Morse taper. So, anything else?
Good job. Very good. Good job.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Well, I've never done any wood turning, but I'd like to get started. I noticed there was quite a bit of tool chatter, and I know you were fighting at the beginning of intermittent cut, but it got rounded up. Why was it still chattering? Is it the lightness of the headstock?
No, the chatter that you were hearing was primarily a result of starting out with a square blank and the fact that there's no tailstock support. Had I been actually working with a live center installed in the tailstock, it would have eliminated, you know, a lot of that minor little vibration that was making it chatter. The other side of that, again, is all the little voids and inclusions that are in that burl that we were turning. That can contribute to the sound of chatter as well.
Would it help to shorten up the tooling and get the part closer to the headstock?
Not necessarily, no.
Help to get a less broad tool to make the cut?
Well, no. I mean, that's a fairly narrow tool. I mean, that's not a very big tool at all. It's 3/8 of an inch is all it is. You get much narrower than that, then you're beginning to approach things like parting tools, and you wouldn't want to use a parting tool for spindle turning or for roughing, which is basically what this tool was doing, was the roughing work. Once we switched over to the round tool, to the finisher, then a lot of that chatter went away, and that's not unusual for it to sound that way under these kind of conditions. Again, had I been using my tailstock for support, it would have eliminated a lot of the vibration, which is what you were hearing as chatter. Yeah, yeah. You bet. And one of the reasons that I don't like to use the live center with a bottle stopper is, unless you have a tool rest that's about this long, you can't follow one of the cardinal rules of turning, which is to have your tool rest as close to your workpiece as you can get it, because with the live center in here, it's gonna create an offset from your work. So, is it ideal to do it this way? It might not be the ideal way, but it is a very efficient way of doing it. It's always worked for me. If you start turning, wood in your own shop, you'll find techniques that work very well for you that may or may not coincide with what you see any other turner in the world doing. I mean, that's one of the things about turning that I enjoy so much, is that there's really only a few things that I would consider rules, I guess, of turning, and one of them is your tool rest should always be as close to your workpiece as you can get it. Okay, the reason for that is your tool has the most support out at the end to help eliminate chatter. Well, that's one of the reasons for it. The other reason that you want it close is so that you don't establish an increasing gap. As you decrease the size of your workpiece, you would necessarily increase the gap between the tool rest and that workpiece, which is why you saw me move the tool rest in a couple times to minimize that little gap there. So it's real important that you can get in close to your work. So that's one of the things I enjoy about turning, is that there's only a few little things that you can really consider quote unquote rules.
Flat has to be on.
The lathe has to be on. Lowell brings up a very good point. The lathe has to be turned on, yes. Sometimes we just tend to ignore Lowell over here. He's kind of in his own little world sometimes.
When you make the cut, do you hold the cutting edge of the tool centered, or up slightly, or down slightly? How do you?
That's a really good question, and it depends on what kind of tools you're using. Okay, if you're using the newer tools, the carbide tip tools from a company called Easywood, these are designed to be used in such a way that the cutting edge is just right at the center line of that workpiece, and you actually hold the tool level to the floor. Okay, on a standard turning tool like this one, okay, you still want the cutting edge fairly close to the center of the workpiece, but now you might be working with the tool in this position, or maybe slightly down or up. It just depends. These take a little more finesse, I guess, than the Easy Woods do, because you've got to find that right angle, yeah, to really get the most efficient cut. So the answer to your question is it depends on what kind of tool you're using. And again, with this kind of tool, that's kind of a general rule of thumb, is that you want that cutting edge fairly close to the center of the workpiece, okay? With the Easy Wood tools, they specifically say the cutting edge needs to be at the center line. And so I don't know if you were here when I was first getting set up earlier or not, but when I do this, I actually get, kind of bend over and look straight across with the tool in position to make sure that I'm, fairly close to that center line, because it is pretty important. The tool seems to work the best at that position, which I'm sure is why the manufacturer says that's what you want. Yeah.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yep.
Yeah? Okay, good. And welcome to the world of word turning, by the way. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. What's that, Harry?
Bring lots of money.
Bring lots of money. Don't let these guys discourage you.
No, we're not discouraged.
It is a lot of fun. It's one of the few aspects of woodworking where a guy can come home from work in the evening, spend a couple of hours in the shop, and come back up with something that's completely finished, whether it be a pen or a bottle stopper or a key ring or a pepper grinder or a candlestick, whatever the case may be. You can actually, in just 2 or 3 hours, have a project that goes from A to Z. So yeah, turning is a lot of fun. If you do decide to get into it, you will enjoy it. Yeah.
Can I see that up close, what you just did?
Sure. You bet.
Thanks, John.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming out. I appreciate it.
Good job.